Hey, what's up, guys? More different kind of style of video today. I want to do this thing where I kind of document my journey from start to finish of medical school. And I want to do roughly a monthly upload updating how medical school is going, discussing difficulty relative to undergraduate, time investment, interesting things that you might not know unless you've actually been in medical school. I start on Monday. Today is Friday, so the 20th. And this first video, I just wanted to talk about the month prior sort of phase, which has been a little bit different than I would have predicted. So I'm going to try and take an unbiased, objective approach to each of these videos that I do, and hopefully some people will find it interesting, the sort of layout of how everything's going down throughout my medical experience. So I'm going to VCU, if that wasn't apparent, and so the pre-med school sort of format they use is this online portal with a transition to med school sort of checklist, and it's mostly simple things: collecting your IDs and email address for the given school, submitting transcripts, making sure they're verifying it's you, and understanding tuition and everything. What's interesting about VCU is that they're not releasing the bill for us to pay for medical school until the 20th. It comes out on the 20th, our first day, which I found very interesting. So if you are trying to coordinate making payments, there are loans you can take out, of course. They offer you $50,000 a year, I think. But if you have a 529 account that I'm going to try and pull from, this is what I'm doing. I can't start that process until I've already started school, which I find a little interesting. I'm curious why they do it this way. It would be nice to have my payments made before I start. So I found that quite interesting. Not sure if that's VCU unique, but you know, who knows? Who knows why that's the case? The other thing that I found interesting was that parking passes for us do not get released until, so we had to enter a lottery, and we don't even hear back from the lottery about what parking deck we have received until our first week, which is called TTMS, Transition to Medical School. It's essentially a setup week, but we don't even get the parking pass for that until the week is already elapsed. So our first official week, we're going to be going over medical content. That we'll be getting our parking passes then. So I also think that's quite interesting that instead of pushing the lottery back a week, so that we use the transition to medical school week, which is like a welcome week that's trying to orient you and get you comfortable with the area and the school. It's interesting that they wouldn't have the parking pass ready to go so that you could use the transition to medical school week to practice walking your route if you have to commute or things of that nature. So I'm also curious. I might try and question why they do it that way. So I'm gonna have to pay for parking in the city that week, this first coming week, which is a bit of a nuisance, but it is what it is. Another couple interesting things. I don't know if this is unique to VCU, but they had us take these 2 online assessments to group us. I believe what it's for is to group us into societies. So they have 4 societies at VCU, which they relate it to houses in Harry Potter, I guess. They haven't really been descriptive about what these societies are really for. A natural way to meet others, promote teamwork, and establish community. They haven't really explained whether or not all of our classes are going to be within one society, whether we're going to get to participate with members of the other societies. It's just interesting that they haven't really explained it very much. VCU also does this table group thing where you're in a group with, I believe, 3 other people, so 4 in total, and your grade or performance can be dependent on your table group. So, table group assignment for medical year 1 fall semester. Many courses include peer evaluations, contribute with your teams, part of your overall grade. So it's kind of interesting. You would think in a medical school environment that your performance would be your own, but at VCU they're trying to endorse teamwork and sort of that discussion they always have in medicine, that you're only as good as your team. A doctor's nothing without their nurses, so on and so on, which I think is true, but it's also noteworthy that, at least in my opinion, in a medical school format, the objective is to assess your ability to be an adequate physician. And so when it comes to simply content knowledge, I think it's interesting about these group assignments. I'm wondering if these group assignments are going to be based on doing a patient assessment or a practice case on an AI, not an AI, but on a dummy or something of that nature. I'm curious how these graded assignments are going to be in groups. They seem to indicate that a poor performance on an exam from one of your 4 team members might hinder you, so that it's important to bring up. Anyways, I look forward to updating you guys further on this team group thing throughout my medical school experience. I really expected it to be a you're responsible for you type thing. So we'll see how that unfolds. Maybe it will be very helpful. Maybe it won't. So we'll see. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. So anyways, they in some manner grouped us into these societies. I think this is how they did it, with these 2 assessments that they had us take, and they're assessments you take online, and basically they'll give you prompts, and then you have to answer whether or not you fall closer to one prompt or another prompt. So they could say something of, would you rather get $1,000 now or $10,000 in a year? Or do you prefer to work in a group or do you prefer to work alone? Do you prefer to have many friends or only a few friends? Or what you would do in certain scenarios, or value questions. So they had us take these 2 assessments. And I guess it's like that. Which Power Ranger are you? Which Harry Potter house are you? Type thing. And then they give you in this one they give you your top 5, I guess, attributes or adjectives. Not really adjectives. Things that apply to you. And so, what do you know? Here's my top 5 for this assessment. I'm a relator. I enjoy close relationships, find deep satisfaction in working hard with friends to achieve a goal. Interesting, because I generally prefer to work by myself. But I was reading through it and they said that there was something that I save energy for genuine connections and I don't force relationships, which is true. I don't like having lots of friends. I like having few friends. But I just think it's interesting that I don't identify with this really that much at all, and here it is. Yay, they're going to use it to assess me and define me as a person. They're pretty much trying to determine your archetype before you get there, day 1, so they can cater to you. I believe that's the plan. Anyways, learner, great desire to learn and want to continually improve. I prefer the process of learning rather than the outcome. Okay, I'm not going to argue, but I'm also not going to endorse that assessment. Consistency, this is the one that's most accurate, I believe. Stable routine, clear rules and procedures that everyone can follow. I like it when everything's equal, and outperforming is based purely on your own merit. Responsibility, this one I think is probably my biggest, but they put it at 4 or whatever. And then futuristic, this is just because I don't care as much about the now. I care about the future. So when they ask me prompts like that, I don't care about now as much. I'm investing in my future self. But I guess I'm futuristic, and I inspire and energize others with your vision of what could be. I just think all of this is a bunch of hullabaloo, but you know, whatever, if they think it's going to provide value. And then the TKI, which this was really funny. I had a phone call with my buddy Tree about this. They assess you on 5 core conflict handling modes. Whether or not you're competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, or accommodating. And I want you guys to guess what my top 5 is in this. Competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, accommodating. What do you think is the Evan top 5 if you could list? And I'll talk through each of them, what they are. So, or my understanding. Competing is basically assertiveness, your ability to, in a conflict sort of scenario, are you able to take charge and make a statement and say, this is what we're doing and we're not deviating, this is what needs to be done. So yeah, it says unassertive, assertive, so it's high on the assertive sort of thing. Not necessarily argumentative, but you're backing up your point with confidence. Collaborating, working as a team, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You work well with a team. Compromising, you guys understand compromising. Finding a middle ground rather than going with what. So if compromising is something along the lines of, if I have a course of action, if I want to do this for the patient and you want to do this for the patient, a compromising person, you're not going to do either. You're going to meet in the middle and you're going to find a middle ground. Competing is, we're going to talk through it and we're going to pick one option or the other. Collaborating is, you know, I guess it's kind of different. And then avoiding is not dealing with conflict. So if you're in a patient care setting and a fellow coworker is being problematic, instead of making a sly comment at them at that time, you're just going to wait, or say they're being rude to you in the time. Instead of commenting on it while you're taking care of the patient, you might let it slide or ignore it and address it later. So avoiding it has a negative connotation, but I actually value this one a decent amount. And then accommodating, being accommodating of others. This one is I think this one is the weakest, personally. But let's see, this is my profile, and hopefully you'll read into who I am as a person based on this. But my highest, I was in the middle percentile. I think in the analysis they said I was in the middle, medium range, medium range, medium range, medium range, medium range. So I was in the medium for everything, not super polarizing in any way. Collaborating my most, half competing, half avoiding, accommodating, and then I guess I don't compromise. But what's interesting is that this assessment only lets you pick this or that answers, so it's all relative. I would say that I'm actually a big compromise type of person. I love when people present counter arguments and valid counterpoints and we can meet in the middle. I'm big on that, and I found it really interesting that it said that that was my lowest one. And then avoiding, obviously my masculine side was thinking to myself, what is that about? But actually it makes a lot of sense. This is very much an ER sort of archetype. Emergency room, working as a part of a team, collaborating, people throwing necessary items across the trauma room to each other, short form communication. This makes the most sense. Competing in an ER setting, you don't have time to quibble and qualm and deliberate. Really, it's who's getting the IV? I'm on the IV, you're on the vitals. It's very much assertive. This is what's happening, let's do it. Go, go, go. So, makes a lot of sense. Avoiding, when I looked at it initially, I thought to myself, I don't think I'm avoiding. I address conflicts head on as a person generally. But it said that you don't deal with it, basically in a conflict setting when someone's maybe behaving improperly or being rude to you or something, you don't address it immediately. You let people cool down and address it later. And that is kind of me. If it's one-on-one, then yeah, I'm gonna address it immediately. But if we're in public, in general, I'm not gonna, in front of a patient, I'm not gonna start a problem, which I also think kind of goes with the ER. Anyways, monologue aside, you're gonna be doing these assessments probably, and let me know what you guys think you would be on these scales. So I think I had one more thing I wanted to cover. Oh yeah, and then last thing that I'm also not sure how I feel about it is this core values exercise they're having us do before we start our first week. We have to draw out our educational trajectory and sort of make a map of how our education has progressed to this point, reflecting on your journey into medical school at this point. Determine your core values. This is, I counted this with Joed the other day. This is around 120, roughly. And you have to circle them. But I'm not technology oriented, so I had to write all the ones down on paper. Then you have to go back to your map and put the core values onto the map. And then group the similar values together. And then choose one word within each group that reflects the group name. So basically put a group title. And then we're going to do this on the first week and determine our core values so that they can guide and lead our behavior. And I made a jest with Joed where I said something along the lines of, man, I can't wait to be in a difficult patient interaction where I can't decide what to do, and I need to go back and pull up my week 1 core value sheet and determine that living in freedom, acting with mindfulness, promoting well-being, multiplying happiness, and seeking opportunities to make a difference, I'm going to use those 5 core values and I'm going to figure out what to do with that patient. No, I'm not. I'm very I don't believe in a lot of this stuff, this core value mapping. So maybe it's beneficial for some people. I don't think it's gonna really cater to me, but we're gonna go through it and we're gonna smile and we're gonna have a good time with it. So anyways, I wanted to kind of show you this because this sort of funny first week values, whatever stuff that you did in undergraduate that you might have thought was silly, it's happening everywhere. You're still, it's no different. So don't so far I'm not expecting, I thought medical school was going to be quite different from undergraduate, but so far I'm thinking it's going to be maybe pretty similar. So we'll see. This was a lot longer of a video than I expected it to be, but hopefully it'll be fun for you guys to see how I progress through school. And this, since I don't have any social media, this can be my kind of way of documenting. So anyways, I'll see you guys maybe after the transition to medical school week, or maybe after a month or so, and I will update you guys. So yeah, see ya.